Hey, welcome everyone to Raising Resilient Kids. I'm so privileged again to join you and share another session with y'all. As I shared before, my name's Joel. We have three children ourselves. They are 3 years old, 5 and 6, and we absolutely love them dearly. And our greatest hope and prayer, of course, is to raise resilient children ourselves. I had a really fun meeting yesterday with another teacher, administrator at a school, and I'd seen her daughter grow up for some time. And we were just talking about the challenges that she's experienced over the years, as well as the great celebration. Her daughter's in grade 12 and she's come so far. Only a few years ago, my friend was wondering, how is she going to navigate the real world? The challenges of emotional regulation and anxiety and stress and a whole bunch of different things were really kind of getting to her. So it's amazing to hear and talk about growth and being able to also talk about the sweet stuff and the hard stuff and sharing difficult parent moments too. So my icebreaker activity for this session is always to invite parents to share a high or low, something that was good or hard. So as you're listening remotely or at a different time, asynchronous, if you will, think about that. What is a moment in time that was sweet? It just was an amazing moment with your kiddos. For me, every time we see our kids grow up and do new things and try new things. This year is my daughter riding her bike. That's an area she really struggles with, gross motor skills and just coordination. And she's been going to gymnastics and doing some different things. So she's been riding her bike. She's been doing monkey bars, things that I was telling my wife, like I couldn't have imagined a year ago her doing those things. So it's just one small side of it, but amazing. Another area is in doing hard stuff, emotional regulation. That is a work in progress, but we're seeing some sweet growth, but also some difficult challenges. And in this icebreaker, I will share a challenge as well, a parenting moment that it felt especially hard. And in being able to raise resilient children, I'm sure you all have been through it too. One of the moments for me, I think, happens in the evening. I'm game for raising resilient children. I talk about it. It's my job, it's my life, it's my kids, it's everything. But come bedtime, I'm ready to have some downtime. And I hear an amen from another parent probably, like, you just need some time sometimes, right? So my most difficult parenting moments typically come after my child's bedtime, when my children are supposed to be in bed, but they are in fact not going to bed. By far, one of the challenging moments of all in my life. So I can think of one particular last week where we were up late, and usually we're very routine, trying to go to bed at the same time every night. But of course, it's getting lighter out. Kids want to be out and play. We had some friends over, and it was a privilege for the kids to stay up. But when they got home, they did not want to go to bed, and they wanted to listen to their songs and read all their books and do the many things that we did not have time for that particular evening. So a moment for me was feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. And this ties into parenting styles. I'm going to tackle that moment from the different sides. So if you're an authoritarian parent, which, just being honest, it's not my preference, but I can gravitate towards high control. Kids, go to bed. Just listen to me because I am the authority. I am in charge. You just need to go to bed, stay in your rooms, and be quiet or whatever, right? My wife and I are nurturing, loving parents, I promise. But sometimes, as you all know, we reach the end of our rope, the end of our limits, if you will. So that would be an authoritarian approach. A permissive approach would be like, oh, sure, yeah, you can stay up late and I'll give you some snacks and some treats. And the kids always want more snacks, right? So low structure and high warmth and cuddling for 2 hours instead of the kids sleeping, etc. And of course, there's times you have to be flexible and help your kids go to sleep and cuddle them and all of those things. We're just talking about a general example here. Then we've got the uninvolved parent. Okay, kids, you do whatever you want. You want to stay up, watch some shows, watch YouTube, whatever you want to do. We're just going to go do our parent thing and we're not going to be involved. And then finally, authoritative parents, that's the balance of warmth and structure. Firm, fair, and flexible, I always say. So if we can master those three F's, then we're also going to have a lot of fun. Parenting is going to be a lot of fun. Things like, hey, I love you, kids, but you need to get sleep so we can get up tomorrow and have some more fun. give them a hug, be a little flexible, 2-minute cuddle, maybe a minute prayer, a bedtime story. But we're going to bed and we're staying on the structure, everyone say structure, of that specific bedtime. And that would be parenting styles tackled from the side of bedtime. So I've been doing a lot of talking, and I always like to create space for self-reflection. So I want you to think about this. What is your default parenting style? And I like the question, under stress, because every day I want my parenting style to be authoritative, balanced, and warm. That would be my hope. That would be my goal. But it doesn't always turn out that way. So under stress, what do you default to? I know for me, it's authoritarian. Kids, you're going to listen because I'm the parent. And I have my own triggers that I probably worked through the last 7 years, probably the last 5 years, especially of parenting, where kids don't always listen. And for me, that's kind of a trigger as a parent. I grew up in a home where kids listen to their parents, as I'm sure many of you did as well. And we want that. So that would be my default parenting style, what I even default to when I'm having a more challenging or stressful time. So what about you? I wonder today, what is your default parenting or some of the tricky things that you might default to when things are stressful? The flip side is also true. Sometimes at bedtime, my daughter will be like, okay, can I lay, on the floor in the other daughter's bedroom and do a sleepover? And I said, as long as you're sleeping, you can. And then I can be a little bit more permissive there too, low structure, just hoping they'll listen and go to bed, because sometimes I'm tired and I just need to go to bed too, right? So that would be an example of permissive and lower structure. Trust me, on 9 out of 10 or 29 of 30 days, we are very focused at bedtime on balanced warmth. We're doing our prayers and reading stories and doing the stuff for a good half hour, making sure our kids feel loved. And then at that bedtime, they are going to bed. So that is a really key thing. So identify common phrases to each style as well. So what is your vocab like? Okay, sure, maybe you can do this. Okay, just one more time. Maybe this one time. And then your kids might also have a linked vocab of kind of knowing if you're the more permissive parent. But mom, you said, you promised, and then playing one parent against the other parent. They'll always try to drift to the more permissive parent who's going to let them do the stuff. So usually when I do this session, we do a quick poll or raising your hands to make it a bit more interactive. But I want you to interact with the people in your life. And after the session or during the session, if you're listening to it with a spouse or a friend, ask your spouse or a friend, hey, what do you see in my parenting style? Where are the areas I'm too much of a brick wall or jellyfish, as Barbara Coloroso used to say back in the day for educators and parents? The brick wall is we're too rigid. We're not flexible enough. And I can get that way sometimes for sure. The jellyfish is we're too flexible. We're just going with the flow of whatever our kids want and not having those safe, supportive, structured boundaries. So make it interactive about yourself and just reflect on what are the areas where I am too rigid, too stuck in my ways. And then on the flip side, where am I a jellyfish? Where am I just flopping around and letting my kids walk all over me a little bit, or just being too flexible? Because when parenting styles clash, that is definitely an area that creates chaos. The brick wall meets the jellyfish, and they just don't fit. And we've been talking about the strict versus flexible bedtime rules. How do we keep the same rules with both parents every night? And I always like to talk about here the idea of stepping out in a line, pressing the pause button. Time out is what I like to say. It's like coaching sports. I used to play a lot of sports, coaching sports. This will date stamp or time the date of the recording here, but I can't help myself. The Oilers won their first playoff series last night. It was an awesome game, and some of the commentators were saying, should the Oilers have taken a timeout earlier to prevent perhaps late LA resurge, or when things were getting a little wonky and too open? So a timeout is a strategic strategy. Try saying that 5 times. I may have just made that up. Strategic strategy. It's kind of the same word, but a strategy that we use to press pause, slow the game down, and come back to the game with a better plan and execution. So, time out, press pause. If parents are not getting along, or if the kid's like, hey, mom or dad, should we go to the park right now? Can we have uh, Fruit Loops after dinner for dessert? Whatever the request might be, if you have a clear plan and you're on the same path, okay, you can answer it. But if it's not clear, just say, that's a great question. Mom and I will talk about it and get back to you. Press pause and talk to each other to make sure that you're on the same page. That is probably one of the numbers one things you could do to raise nurturing children. To nurture your children means that you're creating a supportive home environment where both parents are on the same page and you're creating peace instead of chaos. And just to think about this, peace is not the absence of chaos, but I would say the presence of order and unity, being on the same page. As a parent, you all know there's chaos. Parenting that's just part of the package, part of the deal with our kids, sometimes chaos. But we can create peace by communicating, being on the same team, and building unity. So that's the key. We can create peace even when we have different parenting styles. We can even use flowcharts or ways of understanding each other to resolve our disagreements. So I just want to encourage you with that. Think about your co-parent right now, whether you're together with them or not. What are the 2 or 3 areas that you fight the most with them, that you get along the least regarding your kids? Do you have 1 or 2? Okay, usually I make people share if it's a live interactive session. So share with your partner, have this conversation, and ask yourselves, how can we grow in this area? How can we better align and get on the same page? And writing down even written visual agreements can be very helpful for the whole family. I highly recommend developing a system of family rules. They can be brief and very kind of bullet point form, but then it does give us a clear understanding and everyone's on the same page with what's expected. When in doubt, make it visual, make it visual, make it visual. That's a really important key that I highly recommend. And as we talk about parenting styles, it's important to understand, how did I get here today? What led to my current parenting? We don't just wake up one day and parent a certain way. It's our upbringing, what we've experienced as children, what our parents were like. It's our culture. There's some cultures that are more authoritarian. You listen to me because I'm the parent. And there's other cultures that are more flexible or permissive too, right? Then traumas, things we might have experienced that could be traumatic for ourselves, people that we know, vicarious trauma, etc. In stress. Of course, our parenting styles are going to probably be at the best when we're at our lowest stress points, and our parenting is probably going to be at the worst when we're at our highest stress points. And we live in a world that is complex and challenging and full of stress. So we can have the best of intentions around parenting. But sometimes stress, the busyness of life, all the other factors create this gap or this chasm between our intentions and our actions. And I know for me, one of my greatest hopes in my own personal life is to close those gaps. The areas of my life where I have this big intention over here, and then there's this gap between what I want to do and what I am doing, how I hope to be, and my present reality. So trying to close that gap, especially through reflective questions, can be really helpful. You know, when your parenting style is not preferred, don't just guilt or shame yourself or say, I'm a bad parent, why'd I do that, why'd I do this, or to your co-parent, you're a bad parent, why'd you do that? But what you have to do is you have to be able to say, wait a minute, let's get curious here. Let's take a step back and understand how you are the way you are. Why is that? The why. So getting curious and going to the roots of our parenting style will bring greater clarity, compassion, empathy, and understanding as to why our co-parent is the way they are. So step one is understanding ourselves and our story and how we came to be as a parent. And then step two is adapting our parenting styles to our children's needs, both developmental needs and unique personalities. We might have certain defaults as a parent. I like structure, I like order, I like doing things a certain way. My oldest daughter is the same way. We had the best time, you know, early in our lives, but my middle daughter is very different. She's more flexible, go with the flow and such. So my wife had a great conversation with me. Thank goodness for great co-parents sometimes, both moms and dads out there, because we need to learn and grow together. Even though I'm good at helping other parents, sometimes we have blind spots in our own lives. And my blind spot for my daughter was expecting her to be like me or more responding to the strategies that I would use that work for me and that work for my older daughter too. But she's a different person. So I really had to dig in and figure out, how do I connect with her on a deeper level and build relationship and connection in ways that are different to my oldest daughter. That's really important to reflect on. How do I adapt to my child's needs? We're talking developmental needs in a minute, but especially to their personalities, who they are, and what makes them come alive. I was so sober. I have a friend, his daughter's a fair bit older, now she's a teenager, and he said one of his biggest regrets was when his daughter was young. He didn't connect with her the way she needed to connect. And to this day, he says, man, I think I could have had a better relationship with her even now if I would have got into her world just a little bit more. And as we know, the older children get, the more challenging it can be to get into their world. So I just want to encourage you as parents, now is the time. The younger the better, to really get in the world, in their world, build those strong attachment relationship bonds that you can be strong and have structure and have boundaries, but at the end of the day, your children know that you love them and you also get them. As we look at children's developmental needs, we know that behavior is communication. So for children with speech delays or other challenges, cognitive delays, etc., we're going to see a lot more behavior because they have less communication skills if they have those delays. So understanding not just the chronological age, say your child's 6 years old, or let's say 5 years old, but if they have a significant speech delay and perhaps a neurodevelopmental factors such as autism or ADHD or other things, and maybe a cognitive delay, other things going on, they could be chronologically just celebrating their 5th birthday, but they might be more developmentally like a 3-year-old. So really understanding not only the chronological age of your child, but developmentally where they're at, because we do know that developmental ages are plus minus 2 years. Some children mature ahead of where we'd expect, and some children are more delayed, and that's okay too. We're all on our own unique journeys, and understanding where your child is on their journey is a very important key to adapt your parenting to their unique needs. Probably when children are young, our parenting is too high. We come in and we treat them more like a 5 or 6 year old when they're younger, especially dads. So I can definitely relate to that. I'm sure a lot of dads out there can as well. But I think in general, we come in too high. We use too much language and talk too much, don't get to their level. So to do the opposite, less words at their level and visuals. Just really simplify things for younger kids. And then on the flip side, I feel like when children get older, I think we actually shoot too low. I'm talking especially teen years, where my personal belief anyway is teenagers need responsibility to learn, grow, and thrive. And we see the most successful and engaged teenagers are those who learn to carry those responsibilities. So how do we over time just scaffold and continue to grow our children's responsibilities? And this is an area you might have different parenting styles. What does it look like to raise nurturing children? For me personally, I believe even at the ages of 5 and 6, I love seeing my kids just take their dish from the table and put it into the dishwasher, into the sink. I love inviting them and encouraging them. Hey, let's set the table. Let's put some forks on there. Let's put some spoons on there. Let's put our glasses on there. Am I expecting them to do everything? Absolutely not. But I love just getting my kids involved in the daily family operations, the chores, the stuff of the house, just so they know that that's theirs to do too. We're doing it as a team. Folding laundry, it's always fun. My one daughter likes to come up and just fold some laundry and say, oh, Dad, I'll put this stuff away. You fold it. So getting children engaged at a young age that's developmentally appropriate for them, I think is super key. And let's look at some of those practical strategies. Ages 3 to 5. Like I said, visuals, visuals, visuals. So important. Visual schedules and routines, we need just to be so consistent on those two areas. If we can do that well, it makes life so much easier, because when you have a very consistent routine every day, dinner time, bedtime, free time, when you have that flow, kids know what to expect. And we typically find that one of the greatest benefits of school is that clear, predictable structure. The more children have that, they thrive, the better they do. And the less room there is for negotiations or misunderstandings, etc. Because when kids wake up, they have a certain expectation. This is my school day. I do this, this, and this. It's recess, it's lunch, then I go home. Whereas at home, if you have quite a variable schedule, it might be hard for your kids to know what to expect, and that can lead to some behavior challenges or just unmet expectations. Maybe they think you're getting up on a Saturday and they're going to do some tech time and then have some Fruit Loops for breakfast. And if you do that one Saturday and the next Saturday we do something totally different, and each Saturday looks super different, they could have some challenges with expectations. So in addition to clear routines is offering limited choice, firm, fair, and flexible. We always want to empower independence. So how can I empower my kiddos to be independent, to make responsible choices? So maybe they're really stuck on, let's say for my kids, having a certain treat. And I'd say, that's great. We can definitely have our treat. First, we're having dinner, then we have our dessert. Or maybe it's past bedtime and say, that's a great idea for tomorrow. We can have that treat tomorrow. You can choose. We can put it over here or over here for now, but we're going to have that tomorrow. So creating voice and choice is very key. And always trying to structure things so you're offering two carefully selected choices that makes the child feel like they have a great sense of autonomy, while at the same time you're providing the barriers and boundaries to making safe and healthy choices. Creating a calming corner with sensory tools. We did this especially for our oldest child who really needed it. And I strongly encourage everyone. It could be a chill space, calm space. It could be the room. It could be somewhere else. But creating a space where your children learn to self-regulate, where they know, number one, if we're in the red zone or getting upset, that's not okay. We can't do that around people. We're happy to co-regulate and support, but we're not doing necessarily timeouts or punishments or you're bad, so you have to do all these things to try to make it right, you know? But we're teaching important skills, and one of the most important skills is emotional regulation. So how do you, when you're having a hard time, create a space for yourself, take a break, ask for help, use a strategy to bring yourself down, press pause, and regulate. This is especially tricky if you have multiple children and they like to fight over toys, like many kids do, I'm sure you find. So the biggest thing I find myself doing is when we're fighting over toys or arguing about something, I just say, pause, I'm taking the thing, and then we can calmly decide how we're going to share this item, how we're going to split this cake, how we're going to solve this problem, then we can proceed. But I'm just going to borrow this item, or we're just going to press pause on this whole thing until we can together engage in problem solving. And it's amazing how just pressing pause and slowing it down can help, especially my 5 and 6-year-old and 3-year-old too, begin to develop some of those skills. Now, I know the presentation is geared for younger children, but some of you probably have older children. And one day, your younger children will also be between the ages of 6 to 9. So we're just going to touch on that very briefly as well. As we look at strategies for that age group, we want to involve the kids in setting rules, getting their ideas. They're not the boss, they don't make the rules, but getting their feedback and ideas is so valuable. Teaching emotional vocabulary, using an emotions wheel. I love that. We play the sad, mad, glad game every day at my house. Not all the time, but most days. And it's just especially sadness. I teach my children this all the time. It's easy to get mad or upset when people aren't sharing. But if we can use our sad superpower, that really does encourage problem solving. I feel sad when you're not sharing this. Okay, then when you're talking about sadness, the other person's actually going to listen and respond. And then we're working towards independence of our children being able to solve their own problems without our help. And trust me, that is a work in progress. We are not there, but we are getting there eventually. As we journey towards growth and creating and building, nurturing support in our children, we need to recognize the power struggles. What are the common triggers and reoccurring patterns in your family that create stress? So for some people, for my daughter, it's clothing. She has a very specific idea of what she wants to wear every day. And I'm just going to be honest, I used to fight her tooth and nail because she's growing, thankfully, in her style and understanding what things match and don't match. But she would wear the most uncoordinated outfits that literally, I guess I'm a style person, but it would give me a headache. I'd be like, oh my goodness, you're not wearing that somewhere. And then she would wear like super old clothes. You know, you buy your kids new clothes and their favorite dress or outfit, of course, is the oldest thing that was a hand-me-down from who knows who. And they want to wear that, right? So that was one power struggle that my daughter and I definitely had before. And we're both learning to be more flexible, to communicate our ideas and expectations, especially if we're going out somewhere nice or whatever, and having some balance in that. Other power struggles for one of my other kiddos would be around, he loves Paw Patrol. You can guess, it's a boy and he's 3, and he just loves having his Paw Patrol with him all the time. So that's a great transition item. Okay, it's time to get ready to go out or go see friends or do this. Let's get Marshall ready. Let's bring Marshall along. And he really, of all of our kids, is the most, I'd say, rigid. Love him. He's an amazing little guy. But he has to do his things his way or the highway. So I can tell you, I've gotten a lot of power struggles with our son, but we're learning, especially me, of just how to work with him and try to find that flexibility. And when he thinks it's his idea, he'll do anything. But the minute he doesn't think it's his idea, good luck. So that's where we're really just learning and understanding how each child is different, unique, and really offering choice to avoid some of those power struggles. As we hit the over halfway part of our parenting session, I want to take a minute to reflect on success. Think about one small victory that you've experienced in recent times with your children. Share that victory with someone. Say, yes, we saw them grow. I saw myself grow as a parent, whatever it might be. We want to focus on what's going well. And I'd encourage you, it seems like a lot of work, but to keep a journal called Parenting Wins. Maybe it's just a journal in your mind. Maybe it's just a text message with a friend. Start a group chat with a couple of people that you really love and appreciate, or as parents or whoever. Call it Parenting Wins. And each week post a picture, post a thought about a parenting win. Because life goes by way too fast. And we spend so much time looking in the rear view mirror of our mistakes, failures, things we didn't do well, that we're not actually stopping to enjoy the view, to look out the front windshield, the sides. And we really need to see our parenting journey as a beautiful drive in the mountains. So I'm sure many of you have been through the mountains from Alberta to the Vancouver coast to BC coastline, and that's such a beautiful drive. And if you're just being real, a parent with 3 young kids, sometimes just hoping and praying that you can make it there without too much crying, you might not enjoy the drive as much. Or let's say you're super engrossed in reading a book and you don't have kids and you can just focus on that, working on a project, whatever it might be. But if you got that tunnel vision or always looking in the rearview mirror to see someone tailgating you the whole time, you're not stopping to enjoy the view. And one of the most important things to raising, nurturing kids, that whole world opens up. Step one is actually being able to enjoy the view and appreciate the process. And as we do that, as we take a step back and reflect on success and just reflect on the gift of life that we have with our kids, we're going to be better parents. And you know, to be honest, some people love going on vacation. I do enjoy vacation. It's always a good time. I had to go on a trip recently without my kids, and I was like, oh, I really miss my kids, you know? But for me, there's the one reason I just absolutely love going on vacation. It creates space to really connect with my kids and to reflect and think about life and how life goes way too fast and how we got to make the most of every moment. So I like to take pictures and just think about that. So reflect on success. Make sure we do that every week. Otherwise, we're going to just focus on the stuff we're not doing well. And typically parenting sessions and webinars and books, self-help books, all that stuff is so valuable. We want to be the best parents we can be. And we want to learn all kinds of new tools, techniques, and ideas. But we can get so caught up in all that stuff where that just becomes our focus. We're missing out on this amazing journey called parenting. And that's where it's really important to have this we perspective, to be able to check in with our co-parent. You know, this isn't a solo journey. It's really a team effort. And we're driving together in this vehicle, in this car, called parenting, called family. And in the vehicle, things go a lot better when mom and dad get along. If you've ever been in a car ride where mom and dad are not getting along, I've been there with my wife, I'm sure you all have too. It's a stressful car ride. No one is enjoying it, and the kids get more stressed too. So on the car ride of parenting, taking time every week for collaborative, caregiving communication. I like to think of a 10-minute check-in. Maybe you do it on Sunday or the weekend or whatever and say, hey, how's parenting going this week? What's a win? Something that's going well. And what's something we got to work on? Win and work on, 2 W's. So how can we really focus in on that? And some people, you know, do use script templates for tough conversations. One of my favorite things is Crucial Conversations. Check it out. It's an amazing book. It's a great resource. It's good for work, parenting, co-parenting, Crucial Conversations. That will really help you in communicating both to each other and also to your children as well. Okay, moving right along here. Supporting your partner without losing your voice. I just love that idea, that thought, right? So you want to always show strength and unity together as a team and set shared intentions for parenting. Setting the shared intentions, right? At the same time, it's really important that there's unity in diversity. Each parent has a different perspective. How can we honor both perspectives together? That's unity in diversity. So having private, respectful conversations with each other when you feel like things go south or one parent oversteps, and also trying the strength swap, recognizing what your strengths are and trying to parent in those and recognizing the strengths of your partner. So for example, one of my strengths is being on time, being organized, very chop, chop, chop here. So keeping my kids on schedule, whether it be for getting ready for school or being able to get ready for bed, all the time stuff. That's what I'm really good at. So that's my part. Sometimes I can be too scheduled and get a bit rigid. So then my wife kind of encourages me, okay, you know what? As we're putting the kids to bed, we need to be flexible, giving our daughter or son an extra minute or two of talking or cuddling or whatever. So recognizing what your strengths are, and it could be even chores around the house too. I know this extends beyond the topic, but What are the chores that you're really good at or areas you love doing? I like doing the dishes. I like folding laundry. I like just getting a nice podcast on and doing that stuff. My wife, she likes sweeping the floor, doing different things. So finding those things that each person enjoys, and you can't really enjoy chores, but at least make them something that you feel like, hey, I'm pretty good at that. Also, in addition to being able to support your partners, we want to strengthen the caregiver connection. So creating micro connections, for example, when you first come home from work or whatever the day might look like for you, being able to say, hey, how was your day? What's going on today? How you doing? 1 to 10, how can I support you as a parent, etc. Stuff that probably my wife and I even could do more of too. We don't always do that, but that's a good idea, right? So how to be intentional about that every day is the absolute key. Being intentional and schedule time together outside of parenting roles, aka dates. It's important. Taking care of your relationship is the best way to take care of your kids, because when the two of you are good, your kids are going to be good. So that is such a core thing that of raising and nurturing children, number one key right there. You've got to be good together. And even if you're co-parents, even if you're not in a partner type relationship with your co-parent, you still need to make sure that you have a basis of relationship. Yeah, you're not hanging out with them all the time or going for coffee or doing stuff, but the research shows the stronger co-parenting relationship you can have, and I'm talking specifically now, or especially with parents who are divorced or kids in separate homes, the better the kids are going to do. And I recognize that's not always possible. So some co-parenting situations are very complex, very challenging. Obviously, it's very important to seek support and wisdom and advice in a one-on-one setting from those things, but as much as possible, being able to strengthen and support each other. And I just want to encourage you as we begin to land the plane here, brainstorm meaningful ways to connect. The 5 love languages, do the quiz, research, ask ChatGPT, whatever it might be. But think about different ways that you can connect meaningfully in a way that your partner is going to receive it. In addition to supporting each other, we need to reach out for help too. There's times when more help is needed. So don't just try to get through life on your own. It doesn't work. Support and strength comes from doing life together. We're only as strong as our supporting cast. So I want you to, number one, recognize warning signs, potential burnout or conflict or challenges. So as those warning signs are happening, making sure you're taking a step back to take care of yourself and support yourself and your partner too. Creating a support plan is very important with resources, contacts, etc. I want you to practically think about 5 anchors. Who are 5 people in your life that can support and help you? Could be parents, friends, etc. I'm sure many of you are like, I do not have 5 people. I don't even have 3 people. Well, that's a big problem because you're going to need them at some point in your life. And I know that's way easier said than done. That's where professionals come in. If you don't have 3 people, then it's probably good to connect with a counselor. Connect with other people that you can bounce ideas off of. Local FCSS groups in your local community area are great because it's other parents coming together to learn about similar skills too. So think about that. And being able to model help-seeking behavior for your kids to see and know, hey, mom and dad need help too. When we struggle, we can't go through it alone. We all need help and support. So that's a really important thing I want to land on as we wrap things up today. I want to open the floor, of course, for any questions whenever I do this live and reflections you might have too. And also prompt you to think about, what is a strategy that you can try this week? What is one practical takeaway that you could really land on and focus on? I'm going to give you 1 minute just to reflect on that. I'll bring up some kind of highlighted points here just to kind of land on those pieces as well. But it's really important in raising, nurturing kids. Number one, what are you going to do this week? to nurture yourself? And number two, what are you going to do this week to be able to pour into your kids? What's one strategy, one thing you want to do differently? And I really want to land on the nurturing piece. We talked about strategies and parenting and all those pieces, but how do you really nurture your children in a meaningful way? Like I said, every child's different. So it's so important to recognize the unique personality, preferences, ways, love languages of your kids. I'd highly recommend, especially if your kids are older. If they're younger, you kind of have to guess and just look at it. But even just guessing as a parent and doing the love languages quiz, there's one specifically for children, that would be really cool because it just begins to get you thinking about how does my child receive love? Do they like quality time? Do they prefer little surprises? How meaningful are words of affirmation or helping them with things? So really thinking about what it looks like and taking time to truly connect with your children in a deeper way. A cool challenge or just a practical thing to think about too is it's not rocket science. It's about daily intentionality. So I've heard this model for relationships or marriages or things, but daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So I want you to think about that same model for kids. What does it look like on a daily basis to connect? And I'm going to suggest a starting point could be 5 minutes a day. Life is busy, it's full, but can we take 5 minutes at bedtime or whatever it might be to really deeply and personally connect with each child? Maybe it's asking a couple questions. There's actually some really neat activities that ask, it's like a game you can get with cards, and they're questions about, like, what is your favorite food? Plan your favorite trip. Where would you want to go? If you had to um, listen to one type of music or your favorite song, what would it be? These types of cards and activities can be great conversation starters and connect at a deeper level. So, daily, 5 minutes a day. Weekly, what does that look like? I think for most of us, something that's very, very scalable is having a family dinner together. My wife and I try to do that as often as we can throughout the week. But Sunday's a day usually that we have dinner, even with extended family, grandparents, etc., that type of thing too. So being intentional is particularly if you have the same weekend as your kids, which some people work shift work and might not, but generally if you do, trying to do something on the weekend that could be a routine or habit, Saturday morning waffles or Sunday morning go to church or whatever it might be, but doing something as a family to really connect on a weekly basis. Now monthly. This is an interesting one. I've been thinking about this more myself lately. How do you each month do something thoughtful and meaningful for your kids? Maybe just getting them a little treat. Like honestly, I'm a very frugal person, so you could literally just go to a grocery store or whatever and just get them a treat that tells you, I'm thinking about you, right? And maybe it's going to Timmy's and taking them out for a donut. That's pretty affordable. So that could just be something that is meaningful. Again, healthy foods are good, so don't always take them out for donuts. But there's a time for treats, right? Whatever it might be to connect. But think about that something special. It could be right at your house, especially if you got lots of kids. It's just volunteering at the kids' soccer game or going to watch a sporting event or at home, playing Paw Patrol with my youngest, whatever it might be, but just taking some time to really get into their world and doing something that they really enjoy every day, I would say. And finally, every year, what's something special that you can do each year to build memories with your children? We're fortunate that we do have some family in BC and some different opportunities to travel as well. And to me, travel, for me especially, it's about building memories with my kids. So yearly, that's something we've decided to invest in, not because we just want to go and just sit on the beach and relax, but we want to spend intentional time with our kids. And the good news is you don't need to go to a beach and you don't need to get on a plane to do that. Depending on your budget and where you're at in your life, you could create special yearly routines that are just part of life, like celebrating Christmas in a certain way or celebrating Canada Day in a certain way or whatever it might be. but creating those traditions that last a lifetime. Those are the things that kids look back and say, remember when we did that? That was so much fun. Remember that? So just building those moments with your children is so powerful. And that really is the keys to raising resilient children. It's about being intentional as parents, building and just showing up every day in small ways. I always say big things happen when we do little things well. It's the daily routines, the daily investment that we're making into our kids that's going to be life changing down the road. It's always an honor to share with you parents. As you know, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or thoughts for me. It's my greatest joy to connect and support parents. So I look forward to hearing from you in that. But if I could leave you with one piece of advice or encouragement, is number one, you're doing a great job already. Celebrate the successes that you're already doing, because there's way more things than you know that you're already doing to raise resilient children. So way to go. And my second piece of advice would be intentional every day. Set an alarm on your phone. Do something small just to remind yourself, I'm going to be intentional every day with my children. I'm not going to always get it right. I'll make mistakes. I'll blow up. I'll get upset. I'll get frustrated, whatever it might be. I'm not going to follow any parenting book perfectly. But what you will do is show up every day and connect with your children. And that is how you raise resilient children. So thank you for listening today. Appreciate all of you. And I wish you all the best on this journey of a lifetime as you get in the car with your co-parent. Remember, it's a journey. Enjoy the ride. Don't look at the rear view. Don't try to just fix or figure out the journey, but truly enjoy the scenery. Enjoy this beautiful time that you have with your children, because it does go way too fast. All the best and have a great rest of your day.